Hello everybody, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I know, it's a Cessna 172, but hear me out. This sound pack is incredible. It's by Echo 19. A big thanks to Echo 19 for sending me this sound pack to check out. I got my private pilot's license back in 2007, so I know this airplane inside and out, and the sound quality matters when it comes to this airplane. A big thanks to Thrustmaster for sponsoring today's video. We're using the Boeing TCA yoke system here today, and also the throttle quadrant and the TPRs. Also, a big thanks to DOF Reality. We have the H6. Everything I use is in the description below. This is a full motion platform you're seeing me operate today, so let's go ahead and start this airplane up and get on our way. We were at Marco Island Executive Airport in Florida, and we're flying up to Fort Myers today. All right, I'm going to shut up during the startup procedure so you can just listen to all the sounds in their glory. Clear prop. Love the sound of that wind, man. It is so well done. All right, enter there, enter there. Reminds me of being out during flight school, getting ready for a flight. Keep it at about 900 RPM right now, letting the engine get nice and warm, although it is pretty warm outside today, so we're not worried about that. Altimeter is set right now. Looks like we are currently looking like 29er, 9er, 9er. That works for me. And we are ready to release our parking brake, and we're going to go ahead and taxi. And you're going to see me move around a lot because of the H6 motion platform. Check our brakes. I have brakes. We're good. Flaps are up. Just need to double check our trim here as we taxi out. Trim. Backing on up. There we go. Just like that. We have a taxi and a strobe on already because we're going to be doing a very short taxi today, so we don't have a very long way to go. Right over here to the runway 17. Winds should be off our nose right now, so just going to be from the left crosswind here today. We're going to go over here and do a run up and let you listen to the sounds once we get this thing up to 1700 RPM before we take it to the sky. But every little creak, every little sound that is present. This Cessna 172 in real life is such a squeaky airplane. It has so many different sounds. It's kind of crazy how noisy it is. All right, we're going to spin this thing around into the wind. That's pretty good right there. All right, let's go ahead and set our parking brake, and we're going to put this thing up to 1700 RPM. 1700 RPM. Right there, nice. And check the mags. There's our drop. There's the drop. Looks good. Vacuum's in the green. We have fuel flow. We have plenty of fuel for our trip today, and we are looking wonderful. Let's go ahead and pull this back to idle. All the way back to idle. There we go. Thing goes to alt. And we're going to go ahead and box the controls. Flight controls are free and correct. I'm going to close the windows, and we're going to go flying. Let's do it. Let's not waste any more time here today. All right. All right, parking brake gets released here. Put our yoke back on here and reset our view, and we're going to take off runway 17. All right, old squeaks, man, it really brings you back. into a 172 with that Lycoming engine, man. It's just something so cool. All right, let's go flying. Airspeed's alive. We're 55 knots for rotation. There it is right there. On up we go. Just like that. The nose over a little bit here. We're looking for 80 knots on the climb out. No need for any flaps today. You see how the airplane is moving around on us a lot there. Not worried about coordinated flight here in the climb right now, but we could step on the ball ever so slightly. And what's really cool about the motion platform is that I feel when the airplane's like in that yaw and that skid, you know? When you're in uncoordinated flight. Get that nose up. There we go. And we'll start our left turn here in a second. There's 500 feet. Here comes the turn. See that wind down there on those waves. Good indicator of what the wind's doing. I'm going to keep climbing on up here. Go up to about probably 4,000 feet on this flight today. It's a short hop, but we just wanted to hear the sounds of the Cessna 172. And man, it doesn't disappoint, does it? It certainly does not. All right, as we climb out this way, we're going to be looking for that 90 knots there. Maneuvering speed. There's the airport we just took off out of on our left. So we start our way up towards Fort Myers. We'll join the magenta line here in a few moments. But right now, just going to trim out the airplane and just feel it out a little bit here. Passing through 3,200 feet right now. About 110 knots here, and we're climbing at about 500 feet per minute. It's been nice and smooth so far. No major turbulence or anything like that, but you know, that can always change. I am using Real Turb, which gives you realistic turbulence in the sim, but it's just a nice, pleasant day down in Florida today. This is real world time and weather. So we are flying here on a Thursday afternoon. And it's nice, 3,500. Still climbing for 4,000. And once we get up here, we can use the autopilot and stretch our legs a little bit here. It's a very short hop today. But I gotta say, the more I fly in this H6, man, it is, it's just one of those things where I can't imagine simming without motion now. You know, it's like when you first get a yoke or you get, you know, a throttle quadrant and you're like, this is so realistic, this is so cool. It's that same feeling, but it's different because now you feel like you're one with the airplane. And the H6 does such a good job of just keeping you feeling suspended in the air, like that pressure underneath you, so you feel like you're in flight. It's pretty wild. All right, we are almost to 4,000 feet here, so we're going to go ahead and pull this thing back to about 2,200 RPM. We'll retrim the airplane here. There's 22. Trim it back a little bit here, and we'll start leaning this thing out. We're not going to be like lean a peak, rich peak, anything like that today. We're just going to run it a little rough and push it forward. Nothing crazy. There it is right there, so a little bit forward there. That's a good spot for the most part. So 22. And we're going to trim this thing for 4,000 feet. It's a little bit more climb here. And we're just following this highway. That's all we're doing here. So let's try to do autopilot, 4,000 feet. And it should hold 4,000. And we are on nav GPS right now. So we are looking good. we've let the autopilot fly for a little while, so we're going to turn the autopilot off, and it's my airplane. We're going to start our descents. Now, about 2,000 RPM will get us on the way down. We're about 17 miles out from the airport, which is right off our nose. We're going to basically enter a right downwind for runway 6. And we're going to do a touch and go, because I want you to hear the sounds on the replay system from Echo 19 on this 172. Whenever you do a touch and go and you take off again, the sound on it is incredible on the flybys. So that's the reason why we're going to do that. So the plan is to just do one touch and go, come back around, we'll land full stop, and shut it down over at the ramp. Now, you can learn a lot. You know, you may be saying, where is your wind? How do you know what the winds are doing and all that? You know, when you're flying GA and you're flying a small airplane, you're flying VFR. We're not really looking at our instruments too much. I'm looking outside on the horizon. I'm listening to the engine. And you can see a lot of what the airplane's doing just based off of, you know, points of reference. So you can see right there that tower that is just above the airspeed indicator there out in the distance. If I bring the nose over to the left here, you're going to see that we're lining up right on it. And then I want you to watch what happens when we go to the right here and we hold it. Right here, watch what happens to the airplane. It'll start to drift to the right. So we know the winds aloft are out of the west, pushing us to the east. And you can see it pretty good right there. I'll get back in coordinated flight ever so slightly here to do it. But you can see we're just getting pushed a little bit to the right here. So that's what we would expect. And we're descending at about 500 feet per minute. I know we're off the GPS line, but that's because I'm just demonstrating what the winds are doing here. So let's make our left turn here. And you may not see it, but I'm adding just a little bit of left rudder in the turns to keep it coordinated. Now, when I flew the real 172, when I was up in the air by myself, I wasn't a huge stickler about coordinated flight. You know, you don't want to sit there and just chase the ball constantly. There's no need for that. So, you know, whenever you're hitting turbulence and light bursts of wind and stuff, you just let the airplane kind of just mosey around and do its thing. The only time you really need to be doing coordinated flight is when you're in, you know, critical stages of flight. But if you're just up here at, you know, cruise, having a good time, nah, I don't chase the ball too much. And I think my instructor always really enjoyed that out of my flying, was because I wasn't worried about that too much. A lot of students are just like sitting there on the rudder pedals back and forth, back and forth. You can see it wagging as I do that. You can also do the fun turns like these. And you can feel what the motion rig is doing. It's so cool, man. You really do know what the airplane's doing. All right, we're gonna go full mixture. All right, and we're gonna keep on coming down at about 2,200 RPMs working out for us right now. I would normally descend at about 2,000 RPM. It depends. It's going to descend down to 2,000 initially here. But we're getting closer to the airport. All right, passing through 2,000 feet, just following Highway 75, like I said before. And yeah, the sound pack is $12. And for me, $12 to have the sounds I heard in the real airplane when I flew it all the time, it's just so cool to have that, you know, that memory back. Check our altimeter. We're fine on that right now. I'm probably to descend down about 1,500 feet, and then we'll be in a good spot here for the downwind, and then over. What we're gonna do is just come over to the right a little bit here, and we're gonna follow in this power line stripe here all the way to the airport. And those are other things, you know, you're looking at the ground, you're flying VFR. We're looking at things like that because that is running directly to the airport, you know. There's a lot of small references like that you can use in VFR. And power lines is one of those. Those power lines have to go somewhere, you know. But you can see how it's just going directly at the airport there. We're just about a little under 10 miles out from the airport. We'll keep it about 2,400 RPM right here. Bring the nose back up. over to the left. Yeah, it's been pretty smooth. A couple small bumps here and there, but that's about it, to be honest with you. And we're pretty much sea level down here, so we're going to be pattern altitude about 1,000 feet. So that's why we're just taking our time getting down to 1,000 feet. But altitude is your friend. You know, if we had an engine out procedure over these trees, that would not be the greatest. You can see what the wind's doing now as we get lower to the ground. Looks like we're getting kind of pushed to the side a little bit. So if I go coordinated turn here, there we go. Now we're in coordinated flight. You can actually see what it's doing here. Might be just barely pushing us to the left, actually. Just barely. All right, we're going to go down to 1,000 feet. We'll just let the autopilot do its thing. Go down to 1. Yeah, I'll do 1,000 feet on the autopilot. That's the airport right out there. You can't miss it. Cannot miss it. Just kind of following this whole power line in. There we go, 500 feet per minute, looking good. Almost down to 1,000. Get a nice view of the Fort Myers area here. Little forward pressure, not much. Doesn't take much to fly these airplanes. All right, we're about 3 miles out. We're going to start our right downwind for the runway. You can see what the wind's doing down there. Look at the lake. So that wind is coming off our right side there. So we should expect a left crosswind when landing on runway 6 here. And we'll line up this way, a little bit more left. Pretty much line up on these buildings over here, and we'll be on a good right downwind for the runway. So maintaining about 1,000 feet. There we go. Now we're on our right downwind, looking good. And we're going to get ready to turn crosswind here. We're doing a pretty wide pattern, actually. Get back down to 1,000 feet. Another great thing about the H6 is when we start putting the flaps, you're going to feel the airplane lurch forward as that drag, you know, really kicks in. There's the highway. The highway's a great reference for this this approach, actually. Already got the runway in sight. So when we get a little closer, we'll start pulling our power back and all that. It would have been a lot closer to the airport, but I wanted to stay away from the terminal, you know. The way we were approaching the airport was going to fly over the damn terminal, so we didn't need to do all that. All right. So I'm just kind of feeling out what the airplane's doing. We're going to put the nose down a little bit here, pull the power back. I love that feeling. There's a couple bumps here and there. Nothing crazy. All right. So now we're gonna go 1,500 RPM. The airplane slow down. I can feel the it pitching downward, so I feel that deceleration happening here. About 800 feet. It's looking good. And we're gonna go ahead and go flaps 5. Sorry, 10. What am I in a Boeing 737? And it's, you know, power for altitude, pitch for airspeed. Maintaining 80 knots in our turn here, adding more power as we're slowly coming down the line here. Maintaining good sight picture here. As we cross over the highway, we're going to go flaps 20. And I believe this is the RW designs. Or is it fly? Not RW. Maybe it's the fly too high. I think this is fly too high scenery. From I&I Builds. That's where I bought it. Alright, we're good here, lining up. 80 knots, looking nice. Pretty much what we would want. Going to retrim the airplane here. The real airplane, you would roll that little dial there for trim. Alright, flaps 20. There's the ballooning from the flaps. We would expect that. And I'm kind of happy with the power setting right now. And we're going to shoot for 70 knots. Now, it depends on the flight school. A lot of people fly the 172 at 65 knots on final. We always flew it at 70. And it's a little gusty out, so we're going to make sure that that's fine. I definitely feel the wind hitting me a little bit on the motion rig. And final on final. Flaps coming all the way down. Flaps 30. 70 knots. Pitch for that altitude. Coming over the road. We got a lot of runway here, so we're just being very lazy. Pull our power back a little bit here. There we go. So we pitch for that airspeed nice and easy. There's a couple buffets here of wind, I feel, in the seat. No pappy lights or anything. We're just going visual on this. Looking right at our aiming point. Those big, huge white squares, rectangles on the runway. And our touchdown zone, which is the first captain's bars there. We're going to aim for the touching down on that. We'll see how this goes. And we're going to go power idle once we're over the piano keys here. So pretty much over the piano keys, roll that to idle, and then let the airplane just bleed all of its energy off here. There we go. Down. Then flaps are going to come up. And we're going to do a touch and go. Full power. It's another thing that the H6 is really good at, man, is that feeling of whenever you're doing a touch and go and you're at speed and you have that rudder authority, you really feel it whipping and, you know, back and forth on the ground like that, which is awesome. Let's bring that nose back up. We do not need to be climbing at 100 knots. Round out to flare to me is just fantastic in Microsoft Flight Sim. I really do like it. It's 500 feet. We're gonna start our left turn. Coordinate our turn. Now we're gonna be on our crosswind here. So we get closer to 1,000 feet. So there we are. Roll the wings level here at our crosswind, and now we're going to turn downwind. Nice and easy on the movements of the rudder. There's 1,000 feet right there. Pull our power, 2,200 RPM. And we are on our left downwind now. The runway right there. Right at 1,000 feet, looking good. And what we do is we look out the left window here, and whenever the wings are level with the threshold of the runway, we're going to go 1500 RPM and flaps 10. So right there, we're going to go 1500 RPM, flaps 10. And pitch for 80 knots. A bit more power. There we go, right there. There's 80 knots right there, bringing it up. A little bit of power here. Start our left turn here, so we're going to be in the turning base. As we turn base, we're going to go flaps 20. Pitch for that airspeed. There we go. Much better. And then we're going to turn final on final here. So 30-degree flap. For final airspeed. Be a little high on this one, but we'll see. Nah, we'll be just fine. 70 knots, looking good. Really having to work my left arm a little bit there. So whenever you feel like you're having to, you know, pull back a little bit, just use that trim to your advantage. It's really nice for that. All right, now we got a nice descent rate happening here. About 500 feet per minute, 70 knots. Gonna aim for 70 knots, pull that nose back, pull our power out. As we do that, a little bit of buffet of wind there. The greatest thing that that motion brings you, man. The feeling of flying an airplane. Okay, we're looking good here. We're going to try to grease this one today. Winds were pretty much right down the runway. We did not have to do like any crosswind correction at all. It wasn't bad at all. All right, over the piano keys. Here we go. Let her come on down. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. There we go. And we're going to make a left turn off of the runway. And we'll taxi into the ramp. You also get those little barking sounds there when you touch down. I do like that change they made on that. Don't know what the taxi lights are doing there. That's kind of strange, isn't it? Just a little bit. All right, bring our flaps up. And we're going to taxi into the ramp. Let's taxi to the ramp. Got the windows open. I'm going to shut up. Just listen to the sounds of the 172. It's a Private Sky Aviation here. Gonna park next to the Shorts 360, or the 330 Sherpa, actually. Come to a stop here. There we go. We'll set our parking brake. And we'll shut the engine down. Have a listen to this. And there the mags go spinning down. That is a flight from Marco Island all the way up to Fort Myers. Checking out the Echo 19 sound set. Let me know what you thought of the Echo 19 sound set in the comments below. If you want to see more Microsoft Flight Simulator content, check out this video. We flew a C-130 through a hurricane on the motion rig. It was pretty intense.